Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
How's it going, Levi?
How it's going, Jen, is that this is our final A Realm Reborn episode.
I don't believe you.
Well, we can add more if you want to.
People have been suggesting things, and I'm like, shut up! Zip it!
I seen a request for a sightseeing log episode.
Yep. Are we gonna do all the ultimates? We're gonna do
Ultimates are not A Realm Reborn content, Jen.
We're not doing anything. This is it. This is it.
We could do a zoom in on the Silver Bazaar, on Hearst Mill.
I think we did enough of that for the when we did the relic.
Well, that was about the relic, not about the people of Hearst Mill. The town is not made to serve Geralt.
You know what? You can do whatever you want on the Patreon, man. Godspeed.
Jen, we're a team. I cannot go alone.
Well, I guess you're not doing it then.
Wow,
so,
rude.
Boom.
We could also, Jen, talk about the Red Rooster Stead.
No.
Yeah, have a close look there. There's like 5 episodes that we're neglecting.
Shut up. We're not doing anything. Knock it off.
All right. Well, if you're sad about the lack of sightseeing log, you can blame Jen.
That's right. Just direct all your hate mail to me. That's fine. I can take it.
Yeah. Well, Jen, what are we doing today then?
This is our retrospective on A Realm Reborn. Just to wrap her all up. Gonna go over some of our favorite bits and bobs from the content and from the content. Yeah.
First off, Jen, let's begin by talking about the side stories.
Yes. So just when you thought nobody thinks this. Nobody thinks there's going to be a dearth of content. But just when you thought maybe that you'd done everything in Realm Reborn, Levi's like, no, I uncovered some shit that you need to read online.
I didn't uncover it. Any Final Fantasy XIV head, Jen, knows about the Lodestone side stories.
Well then. So the short stories.
Side stories.
The side stories.
Which are short stories.
They're little, yeah, I mean, they're shorter than a short story, really. But they're just a little bits of, I mean, one could almost call them fan fiction, but they are canon.
Yeah. In general, licensed fiction is hard for me, which these are not technically speaking, but also they're kind of adjacent, where, I don't know, it feels very weird to switch from like the in-game portrayal of Connie Senna or Meryl Vip or whoever to like these very intense monologue introspective pieces.
Yeah.
Which is them thinking thoughts to themselves pretty much. And it just kind of feels weird, which is not a very descriptive term, but it feels...
No, I get it.
It's uncanny in terms of the way it portrays them because it doesn't feel like...
At no point in playing this game have we known these people to this degree. We haven't had any sort of insight into their internal thoughts or feelings. And these side stories they're very... what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
I don't know. They're all up in there, man.
Introspective?
Sure, I guess. That's not quite right either, but they delve deeply. I learned that word from AI.
Nice.
Yeah.
There are 5 side stories which are called Tales from the Calamity. These are A Realm Reborn era side stories. Every expansion gets their own collection. 3 of these I don't really care about. There are 2 of them, I think, that are people being sad about Louisoix. One's from the twins' perspective. One is from Minfilia's perspective. Mm-hmm. It's not really additive. It just kind of adds more words to what we already know. I know that's a bit glib, but also that's kind of how I felt about those.
Especially the one about the twins, which that wasn't really revealing anything new, but it was just nice to, I guess, read how 11-year-old twins reacted to their grandfather leaving and how Louisoix had a rehashed argument with Fortunato, which, again, that's nothing new. But, I mean, the way these were written is really lovely. But again, weird. tonally.
Yes.
Weird. But they were great. So what was the other one? You were like, meh. Was that the Minfilia one?
Minfilia was in my kind of things we already know about Louisoix, or people being sad about Louisoix bucket.
I would say half of the Minfilia one I liked. The other half was I'm sad about Louisoix and blah, blah, blah.
So Jin liked the Thancred half.
Oh, yeah. Where he apparently he referred to himself as a bard, which is new to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's less in there than I thought, but I thought that we knew, like the collective, we knew that Thancred called himself a bard. That's kind of his. It's weird because bards are a thing in this game, and that's guys who shoot arrows and strum their bows at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But Thancred is a lowercase bard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his, quote, job in A Realm Reborn, and probably beforehand. He's got his swashbuckly Thieves Guild styles, plus he's a teller of tales and a aficionado of the ladies.
That's fine. You know, he's like a guy with a guitar and a van. That's Thancred. I did getting as far as like the Minfilia one, the Minfilia story. I really don't know anything about anybody from 1.0, and I think that is referenced a lot in these stories. Is their 1.0-ness.
Yes.
Minfilia especially, and her complicated feelings towards her adoptive mother in the beginning. And she had a much stronger relationship with Thancred at that point, and Thancred was the one who revealed to her that she had the echo, and that she has something that she needs to do something with that. And then her basically like coming into that and realizing like I have a responsibility with this and blah, 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 blah.
Well, Jen, if you want a refresher on Minfilia's backstory, you can check out our Scions of the Seventh Dawn episode.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But
that sounds
in
fun.
short, Jen, as a refresher for you today, the issue is that Thancred and her adoptive mother, Flamine, they were involved in the death of her actual father because they had instigated that Gubu riot BS.
Yes. And so, the fraudulent Gubu emergency.
Yes. Which became a real Gubu emergency.
Yeah, they were like, let's do a false flag. That'll be great. And then it became like a real flag.
Yep. So that's why it's complicated.
That is, yeah. She harbored a lot of, I don't want to say hatred, but probably close to it, to Flamine for that. But then gradually kind of, loved her like a mother, but still complicated. Yep.
The third one of minor note to me, Jen, we're building up to something here, not just complaints, by the way. The third one is Merylvib during the Battle of Carteneau.
Yep, that one was just kind of like, this is fine.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that bothers me about that one is that it's very player character centric, and I am kind of allergic to anything that heaps too much praise upon the player character. So anyways, it felt like, oh no, the Foreign Levy, which is the insert PC here party, the adventurers who supported the Alliance during the Battle of Carteneau. And then they're the ones who got Louisoix to the future.
Okay.
And that's why no one can remember who they are. So that's the Foreign Levy, and that story is a lot about how she's sad that they're missing and that she can't remember them properly. And again, it just kind of irks my, don't speak to me, the player, and tell me how cool I am sense.
Yeah, it's like, it's insulting. Like, I'm good.
Yes, I am good.
I don't need your validation. And the takeaway from that I thought was great was she had her chocobo steed named Victory, and she called her Vicky. And in her attempt at a retreat, Merylvib was exploded off of her chocobo, and her chocobo died. And then after the calamity, and people are trying to put everything back together, they had they'd taken over the Morbi dry docks as a center of operations for a while until they could move back into Limsa. And then when they recommissioned the Morbi dry docks as a shipbuilding center, the first ship that they built there, and I think we're still building it technically in game right now, is they had Merylvib name it, and she named it Victory after her chocobo. Yep. And I enjoyed that.
So now, Jen, the good ones. First, there is the Khan Isina story, which
This was cool.
It's okay overall. It's a lot more of kind of the navel gazing about the calamity and about being sad, which I know it was a thing, but I feel like we have gotten a lot of that through the Rising, through the other side stories. Plus, it happens a lot in game 2, so not really additive there. But the important thing, though, from Kan E. Senna's story is that this is where we introduce her BFF bodyguard.
One of her personal guard. So this is immediately after the calamity, and she was walking through Cartano Flats and healing the wounded. And she found this kid under the Magitech Reaper wreckage, and she had a bunch of people lift it up, and they realized then it was a Garlean. But of course, this was some young boy conscript, and I think one of the Order of the Twin Outer went up to this kid, and he was like ready to execute him, and Connie was like, no. Right now, we're all like equals, okay? The battle's over. We're done. So she healed the kid, took him back to Redania so he could recover. And then it was just like her, again, like kind of ruminating and how she spent the next couple of days on the battlefield doing what she felt she had to do. And then, 5 years later, we realized that the kid she saved is one of her personal guard.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, and people talk about that guy all the time. I'm like, holy shit.
He comes up later on to in-game. So this gives you important backstory for in-game events. Great. Speaking of important backstory for in-game events, Jen, the best one, in my opinion, is the story about the Sultana's 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had issues remembering the details last episode during the post-Mughal series, but I have since reread the story, so now I'm up to speed. In the Thaumaturge delivery, the main villain here, Mumuepo,
yeah,
this is about his downfall.
Yep.
Not primarily, but in part.
Yeah. And there's an event that has like a giant painting of the Sultana's 7 hanging at the Sapphire Avenue Exchange. I think it's a springtime one.
I thought that was during a past Rising, but I
think, yeah, maybe. I remembered there were like cherry blossoms everywhere and stuff, but I don't remember. But anyway, there was like a big painting of the Sultana and these guys. I'm like, wait, aren't those the Thaumaturge boys?
Yes.
And I had no idea that there was a story there. But this was also in the immediate aftermath of the calamity, and Nanamo was 16 and feeling essentially powerless in her position. She's like, what good can a puppet do? Blah, blah, blah. And Pippin Terrapin, Raban's adopted son, is there hanging out with her. And she doesn't know what she can do. I guess, no, this is right before the calamity, when Dalamud is falling and everybody's feeling pretty helpless. And he encourages Nanamo to pray. That's something you can do. And she's like, you know what? If all I can do is pray, I'm going to pray so hard. So in the cinematic for ARR, we see like the Circle of Knowing, and they're all like praying before like the symbols of the 12.
Yep.
And so Nanamo did her part in front of Thal. And when she comes to, it's after the calamity. Pippin is there, and there is rioting in the streets. What else is new? And so people are obviously displaced. They're terrified. The city is in shambles. There's looting and all of this stuff. And she's like, this sucks. I don't know what to do. And, so Mumuepo, because she's in the ossuary, Mumuepo is there, and he's like, if anybody comes close to this motherfucking building, burn them to death, explode them into bits.
Because we learned during the post-Mughal that Mumuepo started to hoard tomes of high value.
Yeah, he was completely corrupt, and his only purpose in life was to hoard wealth. Nanamo is horrified by his response, and she's like, no. What we need to do is calm the crowd and talk to them with, compassion and reason. And will anybody help me? And she gets 7 volunteers. Out of all of the people that are hanging around her, she gets 7 people that are like, we'll help you. And that's Pippin, Papashan, and the 5 Thaumaturge brothers. So they go and address the crowd, and she's very impressive. and tells them exactly what they need to hear, and everything is like cool. Like she did it. Like she became, she was a sultana in this moment, and she would not have had the strength if she didn't have these friends to back her up. So after the calamity, and people are starting to put the pieces back together, she strips Mimoepo of his position, title, privileges, everything, because the corruption was discovered, and to jail he goes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yes. An essential part of the Sultana Nanamo saga.
I agree. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that is it for the Tales from the Calamity side stories. Next up, we're going to talk about our favorites. Our favorite things from A Realm Reborn. The first favorite, Jen, is our top disciple of war or magic.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Jen does.
Okay. Ninja. So I think it had a solid cast of characters, and the characters had interesting and like legit motivations for their actions. It didn't feel like their, the how and the why of their presence wasn't shoehorned in to simply satisfy the needs of, the player having a job. This echoes throughout the star, and not just in Eorzea, and it echoes with like, a really interesting peek into the Doman issues and their subjugation by the Garlean Empire and the ramifications of that, and then we have like this really weird, he's not weird, but this really kind of magnetic character in what's his face.
Yes, what's his face?
Yeah.
A classic.
Yeah. The guy. So like the guy with like, hella shinobi skills that grew up in Doma, but he took the path of, I guess he went down the evil path.
Are you talking about Karasu?
Karasu. Yes.
Wow, Jen, I won that name trivia.
See? You know stuff.
I know and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, that was really interesting. That was like a great, like, trying to, unraveling their past, and they're also unraveling their own pasts. And again, you are introduced to a character that seems on his face to be very kind of one-dimensional, but it turns out not to be that way. And yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Excellent. Well, Jen, I would say that Scholar takes it hands down. I talked about
that was second place.
My reasons at length during the episode, and I had pre-declared during the episode that Scholar is the best job in A Realm Reborn.
Well done.
Quest-wise. It comes down to the level of care that was put into that story and the mechanical elements as well. It was a cohesive experience with no filler quest steps. And Jen, the capstone fight takes place inside the Wanderer's Palace.
Which is really unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or entirely unique in A Realm Reborn.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Scholar was a close second for sure. But I felt a stronger attachment to Ninja.
Sure.
Also because I play it more, so.
Well, I felt compelled to pick a runner-up as well, Jen, because I had already declared the winner in the past, and it felt like...
Cheating.
Like cheating, exactly. So for my runner-up job quest, I had a tough call between Ninja and Dragoon. Ninja has a lot more care put into it, but I'm not that into its storyline or tropes. Dragoon has the highs of fantastic story dumps, and it has Estinian. But the actual mechanical beats are bottom tier filler. It's okay. I guess we've talked enough now, so go kill some guys in a hole, I guess. Times 3
It was
or
a lot
whatever.
of reading. I remember saying that.
Yes.
It was a lot of reading. You go into a hole, you kill a thing, and they're like, great, good job.
Yes.
Next.
So because of that, I am going to give my second place award to Ninja, even though I personally enjoyed Dragoon more.
Fair.
But I will put my biases aside this time.
Look at that. We did a little, I guess, a spoonerism of favorites.
So, Jen, Next up, we're on to our top disciple of the hand.
I forgot what I picked. Handland. Oh, Weaver.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Why Weaver, Jen?
One, Weaver is my favorite crafting. That's like the one I go to first, regardless. I don't know why. It feels very satisfying to me. And who doesn't love a redolent rose? But the story of our little lovelorn minor quartermaster crushing on this rich lady and trying to dress to impress, and he keeps fucking it up, but he's so earnest and happy about everything he's doing and putting on the most ridiculous clothes, and Rose is desperate to put him in something suitable, and it's just, if you're a hopeless romantic, it's pretty great also, because you've got this guy he's not rich, but he's wonderful, and this what was her name, Kokomo, I think? Daughter of a super wealthy Oldon merchant, dime a dozen apparently, and her potential suitor, who is a total fucking jackass, wants to be a gladiator because some spiritualist told him he should be a gladiator, and he ends up getting like punched in the face or whatever by, I don't remember his name, but the meet cute is just like so perfect, and his character is just you have to love him, and the fact that he shows up in like a subligar and like the raciest fucking outfit, and he's like, yes, and like a sugarloaf hat, yes, I am sexy, I'm going to impress my lady with this outfit, because all of his friends told him they're these individual pieces on their own are fantastic, and then he puts it, I just love it so much.
This one was hard for me. I think that on the whole of the job categories, the Disciple of the Hand quests have the best stories in A Realm Reborn. There were several top contenders for me, but I went with Carpenter.
Ah, yes. There is some additional context, I think, revealed in the post-Moogle about Beaton's relationship with his bro.
Yes,
I think
with his bro.
They were definitely like together. They were definitely like lovers at some point. That's it. That's my canon, and you're not going to talk me out of that.
I'm not going to, Jen.
All right.
But also in the post-Moogle delivery, we learned that Beaton, when he was young, he was a skilled carpenter, but then he had a falling out with the guild. He had essentially like writer's block, but for carpentry.
Right.
He had to take a break for a while, and eventually he got back to it. But we saw a glimpse into his early struggles during his delivery.
And he was able to get back into his groove because Jean Delaine gave him a makeover. And he's like, and I wear that hairdo to this day.
Yep. Jean Delaine, for the non-name savvy, that's the fabulous beautician.
The beautician, yes.
I'm sorry that we didn't talk about that one during the post-Moogle,
but that was almost one of my top 5.
It's a good one.
It's a really good one.
But we said 5 each, and we picked our 5 each. So if you want to learn more about Jean Delaine and his hidden past, then do the quest yourself.
It's great. Though he gave his brother a makeover, and
spoilers, Jen.
Sure, he's like, he gave him a makeover so he felt more like it's really important when you look into a mirror.
This is the finale. You're going to ruin it for the curious people.
All right, I won't say anything else.
Good. When you look into a mirror, something happens.
Don't say Bloody Mary 3 times.
I chose the Carpenter's quest because Beaton is such a character.
He really is.
And also, this, I think, does one of the better jobs of kind of managing the way too many quest steps for a story.
Mm-hmm.
The game has to have, I think it's 11 quest steps per hand/land, because you go from level 1 to 50 with a quest step every 5 levels. It's too many.
Yeah.
But during the early steps with Beaton, you get some nice character moments, which serves to draw you in without, having to say,
oh yeah, he's so moody. Oh man. And like there's like the kids that hang out around the Carpenters Guild, they're like, oh, we know Beaton and we know his moods and we know like this guy is he's very, very interesting.
And the finale, which requires you to craft an emergency bow and then rush it into the field.
Into battle.
absolutely ridiculous.
I know.
You're pinned down, so let me make you a bow and infuse materia into it and then run it
There's
out
like
to you.
arrows whizzing by your head. You're like, psst, hey, I got this bow for you.
Yeah.
I heard yours is like busted, man. Insane.
Now we are on to our top disciple of the land.
Oh, I combined Handland, but I think for me, it's a tough one. It's like Fisher was fun, was really fun, but Botanist had actual like a character arc.
That was my conclusion too, Jen. I had the same dilemma. Minor, bottom tier, it's a given.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I was like, Fisher was more fun, but Botanist has an actual story to it.
Story. And then you can't forget when you gotta like kneel and turn some massive logs over to this dude.
You're
and he,
obsessed
like,
with that.
It's like literally reach into your pocket, pull out a whole truckload of logs. Anyway, but yeah, like, I mean, you like Fufucha a lot, and her trepidation about how she is contributing to her nation just increases with every quest step. And then, of course, she has like a moment of like a total doubt about what she's doing, and and it's great. So story-wise, absolutely, that's I think the number one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
Cool. Glad we agree.
We are now on to the second favorite Allied Society quest. Because we know Ixal is the top.
Ixal's number one.
It's not an interesting choice.
Absolutely.
So, Jen, what comes in number 2 for you?
For me, it was kobolds.
Same.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And I wrote them all down, and I went through, and because I think I said it when we did the kobold episode. I'm like, I think this is my favorite. And for some reason, I want to say that I felt like maybe I felt some flack for that decision, because it certainly does have its flaws.
Flack from who?
From you. Maybe. Like, I felt a little judgment, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that was coming from me. Like, I was doubting myself. But
Jen,
but
also,
no,
I
after
spew bullshit
reviewing-
at you constantly, so I have no idea
right?
what
Yeah,
was said
exactly.
and what was meant.
But it holds true to this day. Gabu, was that his name? I don't remember his name.
Or Buga.
Right. Gazo, Zugu. So the foreman, or the Pikmin?
Pikmin, I think.
The Pikmin of the 789th, the lowest of the low, the laziest of the lazy, doesn't really do much. He's basically the same dude at the end of the thing, but he has an extraordinary moment, and that's the moment that did it for me. At the very end, when he just loses it on fucking everybody, including his girlfriend, and then blows everybody to sky high, blows the bad guy up.
Yes.
In spectacular fashion, and then walks off, basically like finally catharsis for this dude. Also, the environment that you do all the quest steps in is super cool. Ukamaro mines are super cool.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little weary of walking through the maze all the time, but it's still like, it's very immersive and such a cool environment. I'm gonna say cool one more time.
But Jen, it's hot.
But it's hot
with the magmas.
Yeah. And the sulfur pools,
yes,
and the ovens and the furnaces and the whatevers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, same deal. This quest is absurd. The reason for us being involved is
also absurd.
Non-existent.
Yeah, we're
we're
stealing shit for them.
Oh, that's what happens. But we get involved because we essentially take pity upon the underdogs. The only reason that they're not terrible is because they're too lazy to get up to kobold shenanigans.
Yep.
Then we enable them, and then, of course, it turns out that the guy, Bago or Guba or whatever, he's actually just horrible too. He becomes the alpha male, and then he turns on his girlfriend immediately afterwards.
Yeah,
So...
he is who he is. And yeah, the absurdity, and like they've got the mendicant, the guy that's all like obsessed with his bombs. Mm-hmm. Just truly ridiculous and super fun.
But the journey is fun.
Yes.
For us. Next category, Jen, top dungeon.
This one was hard.
Same.
Because, do I like it because of the story? Do I like it because of the mechanics? Do I like it because of the music?
All of the above.
It was hard, and I think I what did I end up with? I scratched it out and rewrote it and scratched it out.
For this one, I feel like if you asked me tomorrow, I'd have a different answer.
I chose The Lost City of Amdapor.
That is a good one.
And I think I went more with there's a little bit of story, a little bit of mechanics, but really it kind of came down to like the vibes. The music is fabulous. It's very eerie. You've got like an air that's thick with poison and spores and decay, and then you get deeper into it and you find this whole like void scent encrusted depth. And then you find Diabolos, and that fight's ridiculous. We're not going to really talk about that, but yeah. And I initially went with fARRwell Sirius again because of the vibes. It was a cool story. The music is really good, and it's very clear like what you're doing. You can feel like you go from the basement to the top of the lighthouse, and like you get a sense of that verticality, and also really cool. But I had to give it to Lost City.
Well, Jen, I went with fARRwell Sirius.
Hey,
so
look
there's
at that.
For those reasons mainly. It's also because the visuals of it, the aesthetic, with those big orange corrupted crystals,
so pretty.
Phenomenal. And the track is one of my favorites in the game.
Yeah, the music is spectacular.
Plus, Jen, on min eye level, that was one of our more fun min eye level runs, I believe.
Yes.
Those fights are all very challenging.
Suitably challenging.
At that, yes. Plus, Jen, it is a hotbed of blue mage spells.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got all sorts of shit from there. Yeah.
Good dungeon.
Nice.
Okay. And then we're on now to our favorite trial/raid. That is our favorite 8-person content.
Probably Good King Moggle the 12th.
Normal or extreme?
I hate that you asked me that.
They're different.
I know they're different.
Which one, Jen?
You didn't specify in the instructions.
I don't need to tell you that they're different.
No, you don't.
Because you just said you know. It's on the record.
I guess the normie one, the first one you encounter. Because I think that's the one that is the most memorable as you're working your way through the MSQ. Because it is so different. The music is wacky. The whole thing is, again, it's just like absurd.
Yes.
The concept of a Good King Moggle at all as a primal is absurd. And then you're fighting, 12 different fucking Moogles that each have a different job, and they each have different mechanics, and everybody's running around. It's pure chaos, and it's delightful.
I think the extreme is more pure chaos. The normal kind of gives them to you in small doses.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm not here to judge your choice, Jen.
Thank you.
Anymore. Jen rolled her eyes at me. Deservedly.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great trial, both the normal and extreme. I prefer the extreme personally because of that kind of pure chaos element.
Because everybody's out all at once, and you need to have people corralling specific groups of Moogles so that they don't interact or get close to one another. Yeah, no, I remember that.
It's lots
really
of fun.
Yep.
But I chose, Jen, the Phoenix fight from Coils.
Ah, yes.
This was a very tough call. I have a lot of beloved A Realm Reborn 8-person challenges, but I went with Phoenix today. If you ask me tomorrow, maybe not.
Right.
But 1, it's a huge story moment. 2, the fight's gorgeous. The Phoenix is gorgeous, as is the arena. And 3, our clear, when we did the Coils synced, that was one of those fantastic, like, skin of your teeth type clears.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So lots of fun doing that during our Coils runs.
I wish you had included solo instances, because I really wanted to pick the La Habrea solo instance for this one.
Well, what are there? There is...
It's just the 2.
Well, there's Ratadin and then La Habrea.
That's it.
That's not true, Jen. There are tons. Can I remind you, Jen? For instance, when
you arguing in bad faith.
When we are betrayed by Laurentius, our favorite wood whaler, there is a solo instance fight where we're attacked by Imperials.
Thank you.
There's the solo instance where we first meet Thancred and the Sultana, and we fight like Anne Voidsent.
Yep.
May I bring us back, Jen, to during the patch series? There's that solo instance where we fight tons of Imperials in northern Thanalan.
Right. Yep, I recall that.
Do those rank on your tier list?
Nope.
Oh, fine. There's still options. Maybe I love the Laurentius betrayal.
Then fucking say that.
I don't. Well, I mean, the moment, sure, it's fun, but the fight that results, whatever.
So,
anyways, I'm done being a pain for
because
now.
it's picked these two because they were formerly 8-man content that is now a solo instance. Yes. And it relates, and it slots right into the MSQ. They're huge story beats. Well, maybe not huge, but you know, La Brea is pretty huge. But that the change to that solo instance was like a tremendous challenge, and it was really, it made me like sweat. It was so good. But yeah, I was like, if I choose something from Coils, to me just felt so like it's so on its own. I can't even really compare it to everything else. I don't know. It's lofty. So I understand why you chose it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would pick Rataten, by the way, over La Brea. To me, that fight, that solo fight is more memorable. I think it's because La Brea comes up in a sequence of mechanics. It stands out less because it comes after the Castrum, then the Praetorium.
Right.
Now that they've broken it into two, then the Ultima Weapon fight, then La Brea. So if you're going to, rush to the end there, like we did in part, you're going to get so many mechanics in a row, he might stand out less. But Rataten, though, he's on his own. And also, like the last moment where it's that DPS check with him burning you down.
Yep. You're getting home ganged, like to death almost. Yes. And that's terrifying. But also, like, as far as where it hits in the story, this is like the first big bottleneck for Operation Archon. And so it feels very significant to get past this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yep.
I mean, I like them both a lot.
Same.
So
great. I agreed too, Jen.
Great. Fabulous.
Good.
Happy for you. Good. Great.
Fine. Speaking of great, Jen, we are now on to our feedback/corrections section.
Great.
We have some Hildebrand insight from Catherine Wolfshead.
Nice. Our resident Hildebrand sommelier.
There is a joke in the Japanese version of Hildebrand's name, evidently, which is that the title Gentleman of Light, this is more of a pun in Japanese than in English because the name Hikari no Senshi, which is Warrior of Light, and the name Gentleman of Light is Hikari no Shinshi. A one-syllable difference, essentially.
Fun.
Yes. That's all.
Yeah, we miss these things.
We do. But we get things like, wake me up before you Ogomoro. So we'll call it a wash. Next up, Jen, is a message that we received some time ago. Nashu Jinjal says, for the sun and moon minions, those guys you get from the
Isles of Umbra.
Yes, exactly. Apparently, Jen, back in the day, these were the only source for light for any sort of character posing. G-pose did not exist back then. So if you wanted to give yourself some nice lighting for screenshots, you had to get these guys in position to give you the correct light.
Cool.
That's also why you can make them go up and down in elevation to help get that lighting just right. And Jen, when you hide your HUD, these minions disappear.
Oh.
Which I did test personally. So if you are an OG G-poser, a G-poser before the G, you would get these guys in position and then hide your HUD with that scroll lock button. And then the minions vanish, giving yourself some tasteful moon or sun lighting.
Fantastic.
That's it.
They've thought of everything.
Also, Jen, I don't recall the context in which this came up, but more info on Keepers of the Moon Mikote naming. For the male Mikote names, Jen, there is a suffix given to each male Mikote, again, Keeper of the Moon only. This is based on their birth order. So, for instance, there is an A suffix for the first son, 2 for the second son, Li, Sei, and so on. So there are 10 different suffixes for birth order. This is from the Encyclopedia Eorzea, but it notes there are rarely more than 2 or 3 male children, period. So the other ones are mostly kind of backup suffixes.
Sure.
you don't get more than 3 male Mikotes per mother in general.
This is from Kiko Faye. ARR 2.5/2.55 set the bar for every future X.5, X.55 that Square Enix has not achieved since then. Yeah, it was the most. It was a ballsy leap as far as tone.
Yes.
And it caught us all off guard. The bloody banquet, that whole end scheme, shocked the fuck out of all of us.
Yes.
Yeah. From Nemui Shiden, I kinda started in summer 2022 with some friends and enjoyed ARR up until Titan. And then that whole quest line kind of killed the fun for me.
Yep.
I quit right after Stone Vigil for 2 years and finally picked the game back up in 2024 in May on my own. It was a slog, but then as soon as I got to Garuda, I kind of got addicted, and now, almost 10 months later, I'm almost done with Shadowbringers. I still love A Realm Reborn, and I didn't mind the slowness at times. It's just certain fetch quests killed the energy for me, and, like, straight up.
Yep.
High five.
No, I like the Kurthus bit, honestly. It's kind of rough, where we're running around Kurthus for hours.
Oh, running up and
mysteries.
down the tower?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
But still, I think that's good. It's just that back then, I didn't appreciate what that actually meant because we were not Ishgard indoctrinated yet. That whole segment makes a lot more sense if you know the politics of it.
100%.
But going in cold, we got Inquisitors and we got Dravanians and Heretics.
Y'all are batshit up in here.
But no, agree that the post-Garuda bit is when we then get into busting out the Scions from prison and all that stuff. That's really when the the pre-patch series MSQ really picks up. It's a short putt from there to Ultima.
Mm-hmm. I want to say this person's name as Griff Serif, but it's probably like Griff Serif. I picked up the game in spring of 2018 when I had the flu. Nice. I actually didn't mind ARR for the most part. I was used to MMOs being MMOs since I came from WoW and Phantasy Star Online too. MMO stories don't have the best reputation, which isn't 100% deserved, but their stories don't tend to be amazing. And then the parting glass happened. It was the first time in the story in an MMO made me be like, holy shit. Word. Yeah, I was like, oh, they're killing people up in here? They don't do that. And from Jinx, I almost said Jinx Monsoon, but that... Love Jinx Monsoon. This is from Jinx. I remember starting back in like 2016 or 2017. Sass convinced our friend group to pick it up, and I was the only one that kind of enjoyed it. I think I played for a month or so and fell off. That first Ifrit trial, though, I was just so floored. We died so many times. LOL. Coming back in 2020 on a brand new character, it had just been so streamlined, I blew through the pre-patch content in a weekend. Impressive. I still think it starts slow, but that ramp up to the finale is just outstanding. Yeah, it got us all, man.
Yep.
You know? This is from Ivy. It's worth noting that I entered this game post most of the MSQ trimming in the very end of patch 6.2, start of 0.3. Coming from Black Desert, a game where the mere idea of a character having traits or even a scrape of an archetype of a personality left me with actual shock. Suddenly, there was actual dialogue that sounds like it wasn't chucked together at the last possible moment. Suddenly, your actions actually affected other people. Suddenly, quests weren't several consecutive steps of kill generic fantasy monsters 0 out of 50, and actually had me interacting with characters. I truthfully didn't feel like I was in a slog. I knew very next to nothing about the story, let alone Final Fantasy in general. Same. So I honestly think I appreciate the slower start. Same. It felt like I was eased into the wider world. I totally agree with this. Now, I didn't think things were a masterpiece of writing, but it felt as though I was playing a different game from the friends I was making from all the things I was hearing. Constantly being told, oh, I'm so sorry, it'll be over soon, when I'm enjoying what I'm seeing and taking my time. I still remember the gauntlet at the end of 2.0. It felt like an insane event with my friends practically cheering me on. I was still looking forward to Heavensward, of course, but I wasn't rotting from the inside like it seemed so many others were. To this day, I wonder if it's just a bias from experiencing infinitely worse, but the fact that I enjoyed myself remains. I did Circus Tower and the end of 2.5 the same evening, and it still sticks with me because I was absolutely fuming, both out of our villains and the fact it was maintenance. This is a lot more rambly and disorganized than I had imagined, but I'll just say this. It's long, yes, and it's not a masterwork, but I honestly really enjoyed ARR. Vanessa.
Jen, did you enjoy your 2-point-something years of ARR?
I mean, doing it again, yes, because they had changed some things, but I was happy to experience it again because it had been some time. Like, I wasn't mad about it. So some of the things that we did, I do remember doing it the very first time as like a virgin, and thinking like, this is taking a little bit of time, right? Like, I thought we were supposed to be getting into a new expansion. Is that still happening? Or but they kind of trimmed a lot of that, and it didn't feel nearly as much like a slog the second time we did it. But again, I wasn't like, was it Ivy was like, who was it said that like they were like, you know, they didn't feel like they were rotting from the inside. Like, yeah. Like the whole community was like, oh, just you know, 40 hours and then you're in Heavensward and then it's good. I'm like, I'm fine. Anyway. This is from Aroki Fanan. I started Final Fantasy XIV 2 other times before Aroki, sometime during Stormblood and then Endwalker, and both times I barely made it to level 30 before giving up. Mostly because I was solo, and I thought the early content was boring by myself. MMOs really ever grab my attention because there's so much to do right from the onset that it's overwhelming. Oh my god, I totally get that. But having a couple 1.0 friends to pull me in and explain things as I went through then helped me so much. I also started in October 2023, whatever 6-point patch that was. So A Realm Reborn was already really streamlined, and I think that probably helped a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think they still probably would have enjoyed it, but it did not hurt to have some of that shit trimmed out. So, yeah. So, I mean, the consensus is we all fell in love with this game because of A Realm Reborn.
Next up, we messed up a little on our Pharos Sirius coverage.
It's gonna happen.
There is a blue quest, Jen, that is unlocked after you complete the dungeon. I had thought that this blue quest would lead to unlocking the level 60 hard dungeon, so I skipped it. But no, this is actually a postscript to the level 50 quest. And then after the postscript, that will lead to the level 60 dungeon. So we missed some story. This happens right after we defeat the Siren, and we tell Diamanda about it. Diamanda is the one whose father was ensorcelled by the Siren. And also, her brother is long lost at sea, like 3 years lost.
Yeah.
We tell her that we did the thing, and she's like, great, if only my brother were here to know that my father is now at rest. But anyway, go tell Mimidoa, the Lalafell engineer, that we can now get to work fixing the lighthouse. So we go over to Mimidoa and say, hey, we done it. And we mention casually that we ran into some Maelstrom uniform-clad zombies inside the tower. And he's like, well, shoot. This confirms that this missing Maelstrom vessel that I know about, that this was probably ensorcelled by the Siren. And guess what? That vessel had Diamanda's brother on it.
Oh, no.
So her brother probably also ended up as a Siren zombie, and we killed him while we were clearing out the tower. But he's like, don't tell Diamanda. But she was eavesdropping. Well, she was more like coming up on us and heard this happening. So she's like, oh, shit. And at first she denies it. And then she says, you know what? I knew in my heart that he was gone forever, but I just couldn't admit it. But we're going to fix this lighthouse and make sure that no one is lost at sea in this location again.
He will not have died in vain.
The real ending to Pharos Sirius normal.
Shit. Okay.
Our next amendment is about Palace of the Dead. We did not know this until after we finished these episodes, But between the Tamtara Hard dungeon and clearing out Palace level 50, you can see Ghost Edda haunting you in the wild.
Oh, yeah. I kind of wish we had, paused that for more to potentially...
Well, same, but we
catch a
did not
sighting of
know.
her. No, this is all, hindsight.
Yeah, both on our mains and also on the pod characters, we went right from Tamtara Hard to Palace.
Yeah, I've seen screenshots that people have taken in-game, on the
Same.
subreddit and stuff, and it's spooky.
Yeah, so you get the Ghost Edda. This is after she dies in Tamtara Hard, but before you put her soul to rest in Palace.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll appear in various places and kind of stare at you and then fade away.
Fucking crazy. What
Correct.
a cool thing.
I wish we knew, but we did not until now.
It's okay.
That is all I got, Jen.
All
Anything
right.
from you?
It's been quite the journey. A wild ride. What else do people say? It was a long, dusty trail. But I am glad we were able to do this because it kind of opened our eyes to a lot of stuff that we missed on our playthrough, and only deepens our appreciation of the game. And I am very much looking forward to moving on.
Well, Jen, we are next week. Next week, we will be in Heavensward.
Shut up.
Fine.
I'll believe it when I see it.
You will see it
Great.
when you're doing your
Great.
content.
I'll believe it then.
Good.
Great.
Fine.
Super.
Anyway, thank you to Jen, and thank you to all of our listeners.
Thank you, Levi.
It has been a long journey. This is 134 episodes about
Weeks.
A Realm Reborn content. And weeks, yes.
It's a lot. That's almost 3 years.
And we done it.
We done it. High five.
I got nothing else, so...
Yeah, this rock has been squeezed of all of the juice.
Yep, I am juiced out once more. Take us out, please, Jen.
And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you for joining us as we walked through all of this stuff. We look forward to having you on our journey through Heavensward. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. You can check our Blue Sky at podreturnffxiv. There's some content, some polls, images, things like that. Check it out. We also have our Discord. If you go to our show notes, the Discord information will be there. You can join us for some group runs, organize some group runs of your own, share pics of your pets, your glams, talk about seriously whatever. It's really, really awesome, and we would love to have you. And last but not least, our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. And for $1 a month, you get access to all the other stuff that we do. And that includes the seasonal events from 14 and our Final Fantasy XI series, Vanadiel Vansplainer. So check it out. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.